OSHA looks at every one of you as a representative of the Postal Service. So if you think you get a 5 from them, if there's a willful violation or the EPA, you're wrong. You know what you get? You get the Postal Service to throw you under the bus because their policy is the last person to have not abated or provided the funding or the correction of an abatement to a safety or environmental problem will be held criminally and financially responsible. The law also goes as far as to say the United States Postal Service, your employer, cannot provide you legal counsel. What does that mean? You're on your own. They can prove that you did this. And you're all going to say back, well, I didn't get no training, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, whatever. Well, then you need to request it because, and that's why we're keeping pushing back with all the topics we keep talking about. Everybody says there's no training, there's none of this, and none of that. Well, if we don't get pushback, then they're just going to get away. I've got 2 more here that need to go out, and if any of these are extras, I'll just put them aside here. Thanks, Ed.
See, this is all in.
Then we'll get, that's when I think, has everybody got a copy of the MS-47 staffing? It's the thicker package. We're going to talk about that at the end. Not because it's unimportant, it's just, it needs a different focus. Now we think you should have everything already out, and I appreciate everybody's help. The first thing I want to discuss with you, as the person in charge of field maintenance until the maintenance realignment.
Kevin?
Yeah.
How many units do we have?
I didn't count. But we're going to go over them. If you're missing something, we can get it up here. So.
I have 3.
Well, that's not enough. It's about 6 or 7. But when their infinite wisdom from this field maintenance realignment, which I sit on that team at headquarters level, and we're going to be revisiting some of those things. But prior to that, I had quarterly newsletters I sent out to my postmasters with various topics. Can you ever raise a hand? Who's in maintenance here? Okay. Who's in safety? Okay. And who is just supervisor, manager, station manager, their group postmaster? Good. So we got a perfect audience here, because this is the group that needs to interact with each other. So one of the things that I put out, it's the single page right here, important inspections to remember. I sent this to all my AO postmasters, courtesy of the field maintenance offices in the Greater Michigan District. I sent this all out. One that you need to do, the MS-47 housekeeping, use the PS form 4851. Those are the forms that you need to use if you have a contract cleaner that's not doing their job correctly. Take that form and Chapter 4 of the MS-47, which you can download. We're going to get into that a little bit.
Yes.
And that tells you the frequencies and the cleanliness that they're supposed to clean to. Those are the 2 documents you can use to hold people accountable in your office for a safe environment.
I've got 8 things.
The next, on the monthly section, fire extinguisher inspections. And I brought samples because mine's interactive. These are simple. You can do these. But the PS form, take it on here, 4705 needs to be attached. And when you're going to go through the safety specialist too, these are the things they're going to be looking at to see if the monthly inspection's done. What are you looking for in a monthly inspection? Is the horn or the nozzle in good shape? Is the tamper seal in place? If the unit is in the charge green area, is an annual inspection tag and a 6-year inspection tag on there? That will be different and most likely be by an outside contractor. And I'm going to go over that in just a minute. So those are the things that you need to do. You can do yourself. If you have a custodian, you can review this with them. Somebody's got to do this because safety's going to come around when they do their safety inspections looking for this stuff. And we're going to go over that in just a little bit more in depth. Ladder safety. Absolutely. We do not want metal ladders in the Postal Service. They're a electrical shock hazard. I've got handouts on that. We're just going to flow into this off of this sheet. I brought this only because I had it as an example that I could share with you. Wooden ladders are our second choice. The preferred ladder is fiberglass. They're the least conductive, they're more rigid, they're easier to inspect. A ladder that's been painted over, somebody decided they want to paint it blue because they want them not to leave their office, is an OSHA violation of $1,500 because you can't check to see if it's dry rotted. It needs to be taken out of service. They get rickety. They need to be tightened down, all the bolts and everything on them monthly. That's what your people are going to have to inspect. I would suggest putting a tag like this on every one of them. I have them on there, and I'm going to show you pictures of my office that your maintenance people or yourselves, if you're a postmaster, can write that you did the monthly inspection, nothing's broken, the stretchers are all in place. The warning labels are all on it. Some of them have safety cleats on the feet. Those are the things you're looking at. Number one, and I'm going to tell you, this is the gospel, and I'm going to give you the test chapter and verse here in a soon about the metal ladders too, so that you can use that, because we just got some new updated information from the Maintenance Technical Center. So when something gets put out on that type of format, that means something serious has happened to somebody. So we're going to go over that in a little bit. And on the fire extinguisher, you have to make sure that there's the initial date that they went into service. There's a tag. That's why we have a lot of this stuff done by outside contractors that will provide you with all the necessary things to keep you in compliance. The Postal Service is going to tell you that you need to have somebody from maintenance do the annual and all that, and I'm going to show you why that ain't true. Okay? So that's on there. Another annual test that you need to have done, if you have city water services or boilers, this isn't something from Horton Hears a Who, this is called a backflow preventer. These have to be inspected. Can somebody catch the doors a little bit? These have to be inspected annually, both on your boilers and your city water service. They prevent leaching of chemicals from your treated water of your boiler to get into your potable water. They can only be tested by a certified plumber, outside plumber. They're not a postal employee certification. Usually what happens, your cross-connection department from the city is what it's called usually, will normally contact somebody in a maintenance office and get your phone number and everything and annually send you the paperwork. But if that's not how they do it, you should put it in your regimen of things to remember and do, that annually you're going to have to, if you have EMAR system, just put a reminder in there. That's what I do to have my clerk to pull it up, to remind us to call up Allied Mechanical to have them come out and test our backflow preventers. Safety people, that's what you need to check for. They got a boiler, that's an automatic red flag, you're looking for that. If you have city water service, there's probably a backflow preventer on there too. So our building has 3 of them because we also have it on the fire alarm, fire suppression system. So there's 3 of them that I have to do. Go ahead, Bob.
I don't mean to interject, but
no, but anywhere you can add some, please do.
beyond this, I just got a last notice from one of our offices. I'm a maintenance manager. They were sending the notice to the station for their backflow preventer annual inspection. It was ignored. 2 notices later, finally the postmaster sent me the copy. 15-day notice. They're going to shut the water off. 15-day notice sent to me a week late. So today is the day they were going to shut the water off. I had to jump through hoops Friday to get people out there to get this thing taken care of.
Right.
So communicate that. When you get these notices, send them to the maintenance managers. We
Right.
got to do with this stuff. Don't sit on it. As soon as you get them, send them to us, and we'll make sure it happens.
Yeah, and you actually have somebody that's willing to help you. A lot of times when you're an AO or what have you, and now they've realigned the field maintenance to the district, that communication has been disconnected, and you may have taken over an office, never been a postmaster before or station manager. You don't even need to know that you need to do this stuff. Another thing that you need to test monthly are your emergency exit lights. You can also attach one of these onto your light so that you have somebody that certifies they did it, because The safety department's going to look for that. They're either going to look for that or a route into EMARS where one of your people have checked off that they've done it. Then they're physically going to go around. This one has a touch button right here. Okay? Every one of these that they have, well, this place, we're going to die in here. But anyway, it'll be in the hallway. They'll all have a test button. Yeah, they're probably hooked up in here. But for our offices, mostly they look similar to this or something like this. They'll have a button on the front, or here they'll have illumination. You just press this button in for about 30 seconds. What you're looking for is the lights to stay on. If they start dimming off immediately, you know you need to get a hold of maintenance, get the battery switched out, or if they don't come on at all, you know that there's something wrong with this particular unit. Is kind of a throwaway thing. We popped it off and we had to put a new one on there. But usually there's batteries that go in here and they need to be recycled. Don't throw them in the trash. Okay? And I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you here, but I just want to go along quickly with some of these things.
Kevin, is this for the lease buildings too, or just the home?
All. It's our responsibility.
Postal occupied.
I gave you a copy of NFPA 10. That's National Fire Protection Agency Code 10. They got a code for everything. And when the safety department a few years ago in my office, because finance whispered in their ear that maintenance could do the annual inspections in the 6 years, I went right and bought this code, and it tells you that's not true. Now, what you can do are the monthlies, because I just showed you how and what to do in there, and it tells you. And we'll go to the first page, chapter 7. I highlighted all the bullet points. It says inspection, maintenance, and recharging of portable fire extinguishers. This is what you do to challenge somebody if you're not getting what you need. It says personnel under 7.1.2. A trained, certified person who has undergone instruction necessary to reliably perform maintenance has the manufacturer's service manuals. The fire extinguisher shall have a service not more than 1 year. So that's why we contract all of them out. We have 150 of them in my office. We have a service that comes out, they've inventoried them for us, they let us know if they've gone beyond the manufacturer's specified dates, the 6-year service, if there's anything wrong internally with them. They dismantle them, do what they have to do. We have different intervals. And why you want to do that is because you're going to have to budget for this. And they're going to tell you, no. This is what you're going to attach in your e-buy request right here that says you're required to do it. If they say no again, that's where you got them on the hot seat for not being in compliance. Now, do we require people to use these? No. Because unless we have a full-blown fire brigade, we cannot require a postal employee. But our policy is there will be one of these every 50 feet radius in our facility. So if you have a small AO, one should be in the lobby, one should be behind the counter at minimum, probably one in the boiler room. Because they should be just swing the 50 foot around. If you're in a column in the middle of this room, just go 50 feet. So we probably could get away with 2 of them just for the radius, 3 at the maximum. Maintenance and servicing and recharging shall be performed by the trained. I told you that. We don't have any training for our people. I don't think we want that responsibility either. This is life safety equipment. We're paying for that satisfaction that a professional told us that we've got this stuff in top-notch order.
The fire department comes in my office once a month.
Fantastic. And if they can give you a paperwork, we need to have that, though. Well, the fire department, unless they take this apart and do all the stuff they're supposed to
They'll
do.
do the hydro, but they'll do the inspection.
Okay, that's fine, but get paperwork, file it away. You gotta have it because the safety
Peg
team's
file.
gonna come in and look at it. Yep, that's the PEG file. It's good housekeeping stuff.
We get on fire. Whatever it is.
Another highlight I wanted on the next page,
manual.
4.4.1. Dry chemical, stored pressure extinguishers, manufactured prior to October 1984. I can tell you right now, when I first went out and did this, I think some of these were made in 1934. Okay, so any of your fire extinguishers that are dated prior to October 1984 have to be immediately taken out of service. They're no longer any good or serviceable. They have to be replaced. We go with ABC fire extinguishers. Generally, it's 10 to 15 pounds. If you're a bigger facility, you have one of these 50-pound ones in place. A small AO, I wouldn't go any smaller than 10 pounds. You need to have them placarded high. Fire extinguisher with an arrow down. You can get them as stickers, whatever. It's not putting them right here. You go around to some of these places, they got the fire extinguisher here. If you're right here, how dumb are you? I mean, the fire extinguisher sign needs to be up so it's higher than the equipment in our facilities. That's what OSHA wants to see. But you'll go to these hotels and see them plastered right over it. It's got to be over the highest obstruction that's going to be in your facility, and there are guidelines on that. But if you can get it above an APC and you can see it from the room, that's generally good enough. But it has to be placarded up there. It's generally, and we always have a red or a rectangle painted behind it so that it's mounted on the wall with that. Those are the things that need to be in place.
But the extinguisher doesn't go up there, way up there with the sign.
No.
What's that?
The extinguisher.
What's that?
How high on the floor should that be?
This, usually it's right chest height or something like, I'm just going to give you an approximate. This right here. So it's comfortable to get. What's usually there? All of our equipment. Okay, but I'm going to tell you right now, OSHA's giving us a little bit of leeway with the rolling stock, but if it's every night at 10 o'clock, you're congesting this area with 29 APCs, they're not going to give you a buy on that. Get that junk out of the way, or if you can within the 50 feet, relocate it. Okay? But I also went on to the 6-year maintenance is on the next page. Everything is here to keep you in compliance and also to justify your e-buy request for this, right here. Upload it into your e-buy request. On the back, I included the fire alarm sprinkler, fire suppression, and fire extinguisher testing and inspection national order agreements. This is 10/14/2008. If I didn't make this stuff up, tell them here it is. These are their policies. Attach that too. I'm giving you all the tools you need to fight back to keep our offices in compliance. And oh, by the way, what do they tell us when we're not in compliance? It was our fault for not being in compliance. I'm going to give you a piece of advice. If you think your managers know what you're supposed to do to keep you out of harm's way, I wouldn't bet on it. Because we haven't had regular meetings of maintenance, and Ed and Bob, Bob, you were probably in our district when we used to get together once a year for a big mega training thing like this to keep us all in compliance so we could come back and tell you all what to do.
You know, we maintain that. I just came from the Pacific area, my last assignment, and they still did that in northern and southern Pacific area. Every 6 months, so northern and southern. So once a year they get together because it's maintenance managers. You have to stay abreast of all this stuff and keep in contact. Great Lakes area is.
Thank you. And we just think it has no value anymore. But yet we're having citations and fines, and Brian is here to listen to all this stuff. Got a resident officer here listening to our concerns because he knows how passionate I've been on the maintenance stuff, and they try to keep squelching me every time I talk, and they cannot talk me over me on this. I've got 2 maintenance service talks that just came out. They're different, but similar in some. One came out in October 2011. This is my one on the platform.
Elevated work platform.
Yeah, elevated work platform. What date's on that one, Bob?
October 19th.
Okay, October 19th. And portable ladders. Just want to go over the portable ladders. I put some asterisks on here. What are they? Hazards to avoid. Using metal ladders around electricity. So why would we buy them if the only reason we're usually buying them is to change light bulbs or to do high bay cleaning, like wiping your pipes, ducts, and all of that stuff. Also, anytime your employees are off the floor, OSHA says 6 feet, they need to be in a harness or a bucket truck. Postal Service says anytime they step off the floor, even to this height, they are to have a bump helmet on, and if it goes above 6 feet, they gotta have a safety harness. So why would we have a 20-foot ladder in an AO post office to change light bulbs when we have no fall protection program written in place? So that's why, and you may wonder why, we tell you that you're gonna have to do an e-buy request off catalog to hire somebody else, like an electrician, to come in and change those bulbs up. You don't want the little old lady who cleans your building climbing up on that ladder, because they're the same rules, getting electrocuted because we had her on a ladder that she just mopped the floor with, and now we killed her because the building doesn't have a proper ground in it. And my building is that way. Green is hot in my building in some places. It was built in 1957 before they had codes that say green would be used as a ground. So it's 277 volts, and we had knocked somebody off a platform because of that. Now, that's why most of my people's work, unless we're just dusting off the cases, and I've got this portable push-around thing, and when they get out, the wheels set down and they can vacuum on top of the cases. We put them in a platform or aerial truck because we've got a cage around them now. And let's say step off of that platform, they're okay under the OSHA criteria. But these two service talks, you need to heed them, look at them, give them, because we were just mandated to give them out. Have you seen them, Bob?
Oh, we do mandatory stand-up with mandatory signatures already.
Right. Did anybody else? Anybody else get this?
Well, you know, I'm in a larger
That's not
office.
in maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be thrown out.
But it hasn't in a lot of places. So this is some of the things that we need to keep sharing though. But keep this stuff, pass it along. Don't keep it all, just in this room amongst us and everything. Along with the back, well, I'm going to go to the pictures that I handed out to you. Right here. I'll just pull this one up. This is my office. On the top two pictures, you will see I have Warner ladders that I bought from Granger. There's a safety chart there that says Warner on it, on a cork board right next to the ladders. All the safety checklists there. Down on the chain there, you will see the ladder safety checklist, which I passed out to you. Now, I don't want somebody going through that every day and having to fill out one of those paperwork, but what that is there for, what I did is laminated it like this, and I did these single page, because we have quite a few of these ladders. So I did it double-sided, and I put it right on that chain, right there, so when my people go do the monthly inspection, no matter who I've got doing it, if they're new or not, they can at least look at these things as reference points. It's a good best practice to have. It lets our safety people know that we're on top of things. And look how my ladders are secured, with a chain across them with a dog clip. And not to be laying on the floor, stacking a pile somewhere. That's how they get damaged. So we store ours right up against the wall with a dog chain in front of them. The tallest ones at the back, shortest ones at the front. And it's just the best practice to get into.
Kevin, what is that ladder selection for? What does it do? Tell you what ladder to use for what?
Yes, for what type of angle, what type of, where you're, well, like if you're going to access the outside of the roof and you need to use a extension ladder, that type of thing, versus, and that's in the handouts with this too.
Okay.
Whether it's normal step ladder will work.
Oh.
But again, I want you to remember the things I said. Once they're off the floor, they got to have a hard hat. Once they're off 6 feet, they got to be in a fall arresting harness or a bucket truck. So it's kind of limiting us now. But if somebody fell from a 10-foot ladder without a hard hat on and no fall suppression system, and they're injured, guess who they're going to ask? Where's your written programs and your fall protection? Postal Service has done a disservice by doing a lot of disbanding of all of this stuff, because maintenance was the one that tried to oversee this. They thinned us down so much. We are resources. I want you to know one of the key things to take away from this meeting, I'm here for you. Okay? That's where we can start. I know a lot of people. I've developed a lot of relationships across the country, and I can steer you to the folks that can give you the right answers if I can. The lower left picture is a picture of one of my slop sinks. Custodial sink, whatever you want to call it. Notice that it's clean. I didn't do that because of this picture, because I make my people clean that building. They're getting paid good money to do so, and I don't want it looking shabby, whether it's my utility sinks, or the sinks in our cafeteria, or wherever else. There is, yes, look right before the hose bib there, the hose bib that's a branch there, this is another vacuum break there. That's similar to that. These need to be on all of your sinks where you're going to leave a hose attached to them, or you're outside of your building where your garden hoses are on. Again, the Postal Service put this out about a year or two ago, even to the AO postmasters, that these needed to be attached.
What do they call it?
This is a vacuum brake, backflow preventer or vacuum brake. Granger sells them about $4 a piece at most. These are very good. They just screw on, and then there's a little safety thing, or a little thing on here that you can tighten down with a wrench so somebody in your neighborhood don't steal it. And then the hose goes on here. Why this is on here is so that your people can't defeat it. Once it's on and tightened down, then they'd have to go back and get something or whatever. So it's just a nuisance to them.
What is the purpose?
This also keeps, have you ever seen a siphon gas? You see, that's what happens when you shut it off and you still got water. It pulls that out of, or if you got laying in a mud puddle, it'll siphon it back into your drinking potable water system. And you can kill people with a boiler treatment. So that's why these are a must. The lower right picture I wanted you to see, my building's built 1957. It's 106,000 square feet. It's 2 stories. It has a sub-basement and a sub-boiler room. It has 23,000 square feet of lawn, 123,000 square feet of driveway. It used to be the plant in Kalamazoo. It's a huge building. So, the electrical panels on there, some things I want you to note. We have on there, keep clear 3 feet. Oh, here it is. I didn't rip this off from the hotel. This is a smaller version. The electrical panel needs to be notated somewhere to not block this within 3 feet. Another OSHA violation. Why? If something's going wrong in that building and you got to power down a ventilation system or something, you got to get to this. The other thing the safety specialists are going to look at, does it have the index in it? Is it filled out? Trust me, some of them have been in buildings for 30 years that don't have anything written in them. Or if, like this, you see these are all blank. This is, I took this out of one that we took out of service. It's not an exaggeration. When you have machinery you're taking out of service and you leave these breaker openings without putting a blank back in there, just a plastic cap that goes in there, that's a willful violation. It's a minimum of $15, and they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1,500, 5, 6, and they're going to add it up. This is not just each. Yeah. Each fire extinguisher block is not because you're one in the building. The repeat violations, and it just stacks up higher and higher. When OSHA comes to your building, they're not going to walk away without giving you a citation for something.
Another thing you find is breakers being taped over or constructed so that they won't trip due to high voltage, which defeats the safety purpose of that. So, and I've seen some, I used to work in Illinois, I've seen some stations where they would put tape so people know not to turn that light off or not to turn that switch off. So it defeats the safety purpose of that breaker. So again,
Somebody laying on the switches somewhere.
that's called.
Good point. One other thing that you also need to note, if you have a fire suppression system or a fire alarm system, that breaker needs to be coded red in your panel. So what I did is I had a paint pen, and went in there and just, marked it up and marked around it, and then highlighted it on the index card inside, because that's never ever, not ever, and that's another thing they'll look at, and the safety specialist should look at when they're doing electrical panel searches. And you see a large facility that has sprinkler systems in it, a sprinkler system in it. What the hell is going on here? Yeah. Anyway, you want to check to see that that breaker is designated that in red. because it's not to be shut off. PEG just got changed. I think it's going to be a simpler system. You still have to do your written programs. If you still have asbestos, you still have to do the 2-hour training. If you have lead, we've adopted the construction standard. So safety specialists, if they're telling you something about lead, we don't have to do an annual inspection on that, because I can verify that and get you the name of Carl Carney, who told our safety specialist during our PEG that all I had to do was give the service talk and let everybody know where the survey is. Because they wanted me to have some full-blown lead program, and we didn't adopt that. So if you need the name, it's Carl with a K, Carney, K-A-R-N-A-Y. He's the environmental specialist out of Michigan, but he covers Michigan, Indiana, and Wisconsin, I believe, now. But he gets all over. Well, they need the written program on lead, but what they wanted us to do is have annual training for them. There is no annual training. So I just wanted you to make sure, if you do have lead in your facility, yes, you have to have the lead service talk you're giving, and we're going to go through all of that. We're getting into that. Here's one thing I got gigged. My building, because Sharon Wiseman and myself do 98% of the PEG, the other supervisors have things that they have to add to it. We got the highest score in Greater Michigan District. And our MPO has more qualifying things we have to do than the plant across town. Because of the lead, because of the asbestos, the above ground storage tanks, the ICP, the integrated spill and contingency plans, the VMF, you name it, we got it. It's an abomination of everything. Here's what I got gigged on. Anybody seen this form? I put it in your packages here. It says certification of familiarization of safe operating powered industrial equipment. It's just a single page form that looks like this. Yeah, you do. There's some, that's it. Okay, guess what, folks? This is even more serious with OSHA than anybody else's little piece of paper, because everybody that's pitch certified has to produce this on demand. We had the Grand Rapids District Office was cited by OSHA 4 times. Every employee, again, let me say that, it's not just one time they visited. It's every employee that they didn't produce this on, it's going to be multiplied. The fine. This form I had sent to my PEDC person. I called her up. She didn't know nothing about it. The OIG or OJI instructors know nothing about it. But this came out of the safety office because of the OSHA violations. And I'm sure that there's a lot of overreacting, because you don't even see a PS form, but it did come from headquarters.
One of the problems with this is we've already got a system in place with the training records, the employee verification, and all of that OJI certification.
Right.
Now we've just handcuffed us again.
Right.
Giving OSHA another opportunity to find us if we don't maintain an additional.
This is an OSHA requirement. Yes. But what my PDC person did, whether it's right or wrong, because I haven't got none of this, she made it into like a business card and laminated them for my people so that they could keep them in their wallets. They have to have them at least accessible to their locker and produce them. Right. What happens in a mail processing operation? We don't know whether these people are, they say they're certified to get on that forklift. You go, good, get the mail out.
Right.
Yeah.
Guess what? Now you just committed a willful misconduct because you never checked to verify whether these people are. I now have a file separate for these. The PDC person has a file now. The other gal that helps me with PEG has a file. So if OSHA comes banging on our door, we're going to give them to them in triplicate. And then the employees, if they don't produce the ones I just give them, I'm going to give them a letter of warning, because I instructed them to have it in their on their person or in their locker, accessible on demand when OSHA comes.
That's where the PIP system comes in, because you have to use your badge to activate the equipment.
Well, that's good where you're at, but
Yeah,
OSHA still wants this document.
Exactly.
Period.
Right. We have, we just going through that right now. Well, OSHA came and all our pit operators had to be recertified.
Yeah, because you couldn't produce it, right?
Well, some of the records somehow got lost, but they said every driver had to be recertified. We're going through that now. But we have a safety sheet that I make all the pit operators fill out in the morning, and they tape the yellow, this is a duplicate. They tape the yellow one to their, if it's a fork or if it's a tractor, and they give the white copy to maintenance. And then in a half an hour or 20 minutes, a maintenance manager comes over and check all the
Awesome.
safety.
I know it's a lot of work.
It is, but it's saving us though, because it's been too much that's been going
Well,
on. We've been really been fined for that.
Yeah.
So all they do is just look and see what they checked off, if the horns, if the decals.
Right. There is a pre-tour checklist. I have them laminated on the wall of my battery room, and I have a hard copy, a clipboard there.
Right.
They're to sign out which one that they had,
Exactly.
and then when it gets full, they put it back there, and the group leader for the custodians or whoever brings them to my office, and I file them away. Because I go around and see who's been operating pit that day. I look at that sheet, and I want to make sure they've done the pre-tour checks too. Those are things you're going to get cited on.
Right.
And we can prove it. We can also show, I'm going to tell you, folks in safety, if you come through and see all of the things we're talking about, you're pretty convinced they're doing what they're supposed to do, aren't you? But if you get a bunch of hodgepodge, blah, blah, you don't know who's doing it, who's that, I think that person did it, they are now compelled to dig a little deeper.
Right.
Because they're not going to let them walk away on this peg now, and I know that because our specialist goes, I can't do this. You've passed every element of that. You've demonstrated you're doing it. But because they just gigged us on this from OSHA, you're not going to get points for that section.
Right.
Well, that makes me mad. I get a 5-point vote every year on my peg for all of my programs and my policies. I take, whether they're paying me or not, I was given this for a job and I take pride in what I do. If you don't all know this, on April 2nd, 1984, I was crushed to death. I had to be artificially resuscitated and took 3 years of my life. There isn't a day gone by since then I haven't had migraine headaches because I had cardiac asphyxiation. Between here and here, I was crushed into a trash compactor this size because my employer failed to tell me the lockout tagout procedures. Where were the keys to the truck, of that new truck? Because I was a salesperson. They were in my pocket just like they told me. They didn't tell me about the extra stored energy in it. That as it got in my belt loop and I was lowering a wire down to have the safety light that I wanted to put on the back, that almost killed me. As I reached in like this, the lowered down the mechanic, that lever went into my pocket, released the pressure and squeezed me into the cab of the truck. I take everything I teach my employees seriously, and I don't let the bureaucrats at postal headquarters, when they talk about the maintenance stuff, give me their line of shit. And I'm meaning that wholeheartedly, because somebody's going to die.
Yes.
And I don't care about their dollars or cents or whatever. How do we come up with the money to pay all these fines, but we can't come up with the money to get the maintenance people and the environmental people an annual training class?
That's true.
And the safety people used to be with us. You know? Take it back. And I'll tell you what, our environmental safety people want that. But they're telling me, shut up. Don't say nothing. We don't have any money. We don't do this. We can always find money to pay hospital bills, but we can't find money. And we've gone so far backwards with all this stuff. I got a little box of, oh, and on that other picture, on the slop sink, it says over that, it says, you can't see it very well, utilities sink water, not safe to drink. You have to have that placarded over any one of those janitorial sinks. That's an OSHA violation. Because what's going to happen, right? This is off my lunchroom. What do you think they're doing with that hose if I don't put that up there? They're going to wash dishes. They're going to fill the coffee pot urn. They just had all that old dirty mop water from the toilet pushed in there, and it's going to be fortified. It's not decaf. It's decontaminated or contaminated. So you have to have that placarded and labeled.
On the PIT, is that really, does that only apply to power gas and your oils?
It would be forklifts, tugs, Big Joes, any big walk-behind battery-operated floor scrubbers, vertilifts, scissors lifts, lift-a-lot.
What about the, we have the lifts for like the hamper
if they move around, you should still have some training on that from the OJI.
Still have to have.
But you should have training on that at minimum, because that's what's happening. I go around and check all my people, but we got people on the floor, the customer service, have operating Big Joe. I can't tell whether they're certified or not.
But a hamper dumper is not covered industrial.
No.
It's a tilter.
It's a tilt, it's a tilt, yeah.
But it has to have an OJI instructor that tell them how to operate. It has to be in their record in LMS. Okay.
What did you say about it?
It's electric, but what are you talking about? It's powered industrial equipment that's moving. It's moving under its own power. That's sitting there. That needs another level of training, though, because there's pinch points, there's a way to operate it. That needs to be instructed. You just can't say to the PSC or the new clerk to just come in, go operate that equipment. You cannot.
So my question is, do I have to have?
Not for that piece, but please verify, because there's so many variations to that equipment.
There should be a single piece of equipment on that working floor that people have been trained on.
Right.
Because
There you go.
pinch points, I mean, training doesn't take that long. The maintenance folks, normally the folks that are running a battery shop are trained on that, and the maintenance supervisor can oversee that.
I know Bob's in the kingdom now, because he knows Grand Rapids, we didn't know maintenance or battery shop. And the battery shop was down the street.
Part of Scotland's Palace.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is not a one-time training.
Yeah.
Right.
This is just like a driver's license. Every 3 years, the OJI has to come back in and observe them and have them run each piece of equipment
Right.
that they're qualified on.
And you got to keep that record. But here's the thing: I have an absolute fantastic PDC person who sends me that every year automatically. She'll let me know who's falling off, who needs to get in. You got to build some relationships with folks. And I'm telling you what, that's what you need. This is what we're building relationships. You got Bob, you got Ed, you got me, you have other folks in this room. We can take other to another level. Yeah.
I have a question. I just want to piggyback on the ladders. The union is always filing a grievance when they see a mail handler climbing on the ladder to fix the jam on the tray line.
And they should, because they're not trained, they're not supposed to. That isn't their job.
Okay. And, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to stick their hand into a pinch point, and they haven't been trained to be on there. So they have their bump pad on.
Exactly.
And we do have union contracts that say this is certain work.
And see, then you have maintenance that's arguing with operations. You're saying they don't have an employee just to stand right there all day to clear the jams.
I'm going to tell you, somebody lose their finger, who are they coming after? Whoever that supervisor was, to let them do that, and you're done.
Exactly.
You're
And not only
done.
that, they come around and tell us what you all have to get up there and clear the jam.
There won't be an MSPB hearing, because that'll be a waste of time. There will be one, but you are done. Because you willfully put somebody in harm's way that is not trained, it's not their vocation. You didn't have them even have the basic PPE on.
Right.
Sticking their paws in the mechanical equipment that you don't know has been locked out properly.
And you have 3 tray lines that they have to.
That's where you can disobey an order and you tell them it's safety and we will back you up and whatever. I've got a box here with a bunch of signs: universal batteries, lockout, tagouts, all this stuff. Light switch, energy, conservation, used oil, all kinds of stuff. Universal waste. A lot of this stuff, I went to the Michigan website, OSHA website, my OSHA, we're under federal OSHA, but every post office that went on could register and get all the free stuff. So every office would be entitled to 25 fire extinguisher signs on them, and it shows how to use one. You can, the good housekeeping thing, post it above it. They'll send you X amount of lockout, tag out stickers to put on your panel. So if everybody in their office did that, then they'd probably get enough stuff in a small AO to placard everything they need. This is also another sign that needs to be on all your fluorescent bulbs. Universal waste, used lamps, needs to be stored, the date that it was last filled, the quantity inside, taped up, this on it. You can't store more than a year. That's another violation of EPA. But all of this stuff that I have in this box, all the signs, all the placarding, all the things, well, this postal junk in here too, usually don't. All this stuff. I got a lot of these things through my OSHA, and they send them directly to me. So take advantage to whatever your state offers under their OSHA policies and procedures programs. And I'm rushing through a lot of things, but I want you to take away one thing. They're going to hold you accountable for all their bureaucratic mistakes that they made. And I'm going to go back to say, the last person found to have not abated it or caused it or didn't pay to eliminate it will be the one held criminally and financially responsible, end of quote, United States Postal Service. OSHA, EPA will not allow them to defend you. You're on your own.
You know, the EPA system now where they like to just not approve things and you jump through hoops and, you know, that hinders you from taking care of a hazard. I have one right now that I don't know if I'm going to make the 20 days, a serious hazard. And, you know, when I go back, it'll probably be, you know, disapproved.
Good, but that's what you pull out of the file and then you take it up. Because if somebody gets hurt, you've got that manager disapproved it. Make sure your justifications are in there. Call me if you need some wording that might help you. I've given you tools to upload and put with it to show what you need possibly and what that happens. Now I want to go over maybe more questions on safety. I know it's quick. I think I talked here for 10 hours on this, minimum. But I wanted you to go and get this handout out now. Starts with the blue page on it. Okay, the first page, and I just did screenshots, so I'm going to go through this. And folks of you that are in the western area, I gave you the Great Lakes area site because it's very good. And I did navigate your site in the western area, and I didn't think it had as much information. But guess what? You can access this one without having to have anything more than your login ID for the Postal Service. So you go to Inside USPS. Okay, the next slide says click on Field. And the next one says click on Great Lakes. Now go down to the district. You're clicking on the area link here, folks. I'm going fast because we're getting to where I'm going. The next one says Environmental Policies and Programs. Okay? When that opens up, look at all the stuff that's on the side. Acronyms and abbreviations: air and emission, asbestos, drinking water, ECRs, that's environmental compliance reviews, your Tier 2 reporting for above ground and underground storage tanks, internet and intranet links, pollution prevention, recycling, refrigerants. If you have Freon in your building and it meets certain criteria, and I can't go through all of this stuff, but if you have large quantities of Freon stored in your air conditioning units, you have to have a refrigerant program. Your environmental people should help you with that. Storage tanks, stormwater. If you have a BMF, you're going to have a stormwater permit more than likely that you're going to have to manage to make sure spills are not getting to that. There's links there. Universal waste, that's going to cover your lamps, your batteries, used oil. We don't call it waste oil. It's used oil. It can be recycled. As soon as you start accumulating any of those things, a date has to be on there when you did. Then when you cycle the bulbs, they have to be sealed up in a box. They have to be closed anyway, even if they're spent. Because if they explode, they have mercury in them. And these compact fluorescent things, that sounds great. Guess what they have in them to make them work? Mercury. So we took incandescent bulbs because they use energy, replaced them with those compact ones, and now we're throwing mercury into the landfills. And nobody wants to tell you that little part of it, but Kevin. But I don't have anything invested in it. Why do you think Mr. Perry, running for president, doesn't want a compact fluorescent bulb outlawed in his state of Texas? Because they make them there. Bingo. It's all about the money, folks. Okay. Yeah. But look on this page right here. There's some, even just some notifications here on spray painting for facilities, EPA regional stuff. There's something here on Illinois, Chicago and East, or Metro East areas parts washer certification. That's right on the front page when it pops up. That's for Illinois alone. January. Well, then you click on the service talks because this is helpful to all of you. Then you go, this page pops up with the states. After you go to service talks, it pops up the states. Now, I don't know what's going on in Western area, but I know Carl put this up and it's very good. But I clicked on Michigan because I wanted you to see what's underneath that one in Michigan. Underneath of Michigan is a whole list of service talks for you. Okay, and it's cut off. The page is about another third at least, or half with them on here. Acid neutralization pits, aerosol cans, flammable and combustible liquids, hazardous waste management, hazardous waste manifest, liquid industrial waste, medical waste, oil water separators. Gee, if you have a BMF, I'm rattling off some of your favorite things, right, Pat? Yeah, she's got it all. Parts washers management, pesticide management. Does anybody know the policies about pesticide management and herbicide management in the Postal Service? We can only allow our people, our custodians, to use what's purchased off the shelf. If they get the concentrated, yes, go ahead, Bob.
Household
Pre-mix.
concentration, yeah. You can't get concentrated, or you would mix it yourself.
Right, then they have to have certification because they become a professional. That's for herbicides, Roundup, pesticides, bug killers, all of that stuff. I'm just filling you with a lot of joy here, folks. Refrigerant management. I have huge air conditioning units. I have window units. We have other things that have Freon stored in them. If a certain amount, that's a percentage, leaks out of that in a year, we have to keep records of all of that. But after it reaches a certain percentage level, if it's not fixed, or even if it's fixed, I have to report things to EPA. And I better show that I've repaired that stuff and maintained it. And you have to maintain those records in your facility. And sanitary sewers, shop towels, spill plans, stormwater management, and there's another list just as big there. Click on it, gives you service talks. All you need to do is communicate with your folks. I could go on and on and on, and I'm going to talk to you another thing about proper labeling, too. You go buy some Windex, and it comes in a bottle like you do at home. That's perfectly fine. You think you're going to save money, and you go get the gallon size, and you put it into this. That's what this is. It's an unmarked chemical. Nobody knows what it is. That's an OSHA violation. Okay? You don't know really what's in there. This is getting better without a label. And that's what will happen. Our custodians had their grandma taught them how to make up some weasel juice that's great for cleaning glass, and I'm only using that. No. What we've got to do, this is 3M, this is Granger, the twist and fill system. You'll see it on that slop sink, the hose to the left there. These are silk-screened secondary containers from the manufacturer with all the proper OSHA stuff on. That's what we need to use if we're going to do dispensing in quantities, from bulk. Stay away from trying to do this any other way. We have to in maintenance with alcohol. But it better have an NFPA label on it. And guess what? This isn't legal either. Because the health and reactivity and flammability and PPE aren't filled in with a proper code on it and the name on it. So you're not over until you put all that on there. That's another willful violation. My brother, for an example, is an auto mechanic. He used old milk jugs when they used a torch and they poured, he used it for water. It was not labeled. And he grabbed his jug. Somebody filled it with isopropyl alcohol. He poured it on a hot exhaust manifold. He tried to heat the bolts up and it burst into flames. That's what we're trying to prevent here. And people bringing in outside chemicals. And while I'm on this, doesn't everybody know what MSDS means? Yes. It doesn't mean what my employees said it does over my office. My blank don't stink. That's what they nicknamed me. That's what they have it over my office. They go, oh, I see you finally got your appropriate thing. So material safety data sheets. And OSHA says anything brought into our facilities and household quantities are not required to have them. Postal policy, on the other hand, says any chemical you're bringing into your facility has to have a material safety data sheet. Yep, and you need to have it communicated where it is in the case of emergency. And I've gone as far as putting a sub-satellite of each one. A bigger version in my tool and parts room where more things are stored, and a smaller one in my custodial closets where maybe the spill may occur with the products that are in there, so that we can grab it right from that area and get it to emergency personnel, or read it to see what we need to do, get them eye wash or not. So material safety data sheets, why everybody thinks we should go to the dollar store to buy all of our products is ridiculous. You need to go through Grainger, get the stuff, they'll send you the MSDS sheets. I'm going to tell you, you need to keep them after you stop using that product forever. It's 30 years, but it's forever, basically. Why? Because some effects are chronic, which are immediate. Others, like asbestosis, take 20 or 30 years to develop, so we have to archive those. That's why you don't change your chemicals every month or on sale or whatever. Windex is Windex is Windex. You get it through Grainger, just buy it. It will save you a lot of heartache. You better have a chemical inventory in the front of those books. If there's anything hazardous, you need to list it. Gasoline, whatever you have on your facilities. We pretty much trimmed down a lot of hazardous things. It used to be the 17 targeted chemicals we want to keep out of the Postal Service. Now it's down to 11. And a lot of you don't need to know that, but you can contact your maintenance folks so they know the cooties and the VMF people what not to put in there or bring in. But basically what you need to look for are some of these neutral cleaners like Simple Green, citrus-based cleaners, aqueous-based stuff, water-based things that are nature-friendly. Because not only are you bringing this stuff in that may be hazardous, you can't be putting it down your sinks. Well, letting your water department know about it if you're doing it in big quantities like that. So try to do environmentally friendly stuff. That's what our goal. My building was a large quantity generator of waste of these types of things. We're now a conditionally exempt small quantity generator because we eliminated those. We went to water-based paints. We went to citrus-based cleaners. We went to neutral-based cleaners with 3M. All the things, and then you don't have all the hazards your employees are exposed to. They have a bunch of PPE that has to be amplified. You can get away with the nitro gloves, things like that. If any of you need any videos on how to don and doff gloves for PPE, I can send you a copy of that. The face masks, the filtering face masks, if anybody uses those, they're entitled to, but it's for comfort measures only, and they have to have a declination sheet signed. I keep it in my tool and parts room. And before you use it, go ahead.
One of the things that we had in one of our offices, and I'll blame the lady because that's where it happened at, when the compliance officer came in, his take on these chemicals was if they had public access to them. So if you had a bottle of hand lotion sitting on your desk, you were fine. But when he went into the women's restroom and up on the little counter there, they had a great big jug and everybody used that, and he immediately came to us and said, I want to see your material safety data sheet on that.
And I would even say that on the desk isn't going to get it with the post office. It has to be in their locker. It's not communal, because we had an issue in the plant where somebody put out their aqua velva juice or whatever, and they all were sharing it, and somebody got a reaction, got dermatitis because of it. Now it's a claim for us, because we allowed it. Okay, folks, they can keep it, but it has to be in their own control. And don't be sharing them. At one point in time, this is how good we were. We used to have these booklets. If you still have them, keep them, because they're a rare find. It says Michigan Plant's Environmental Compliance Pocketbook. They had them for all the old post offices. They no longer produce this. But you know what? That's what we're doing, and while we're dumb-sizing the Postal Service, by getting us caught, by not keeping this stuff up, keeping maintenance up to speed on all of these things, in compliance with what's going on. But Bob and I and Ed, we're just a few dinosaurs still around, and the folks that have been commenting here, we're still your resources. I can still guide you through some of these things before I get Alzheimer's or something, because I hope to be around a while. But what I want you to take away from this is contact me. I will help you. Something like that, we can get Bob, somebody, and I don't know folks in this room that you can even seek out that you didn't before.
You know, you brought up, I think the most important point is that partnership. You know,
Right.
I've got safety, you know, safety and maintenance work hand in hand. And the stations, I'm always, I go to the NAPS meetings and talk to them about, communicate with us. What are your needs? What's going on? Because you have knowledgeable professionals. You just have to seek out that knowledge. And, the fines and stuff, they're gonna come to you if you don't correct it. And we'll be here to help, absolutely. Maintenance is here to assist with it.
Again, Bob can attest to this, Ed, we could go spend 3 days here, but there's some highlights of every day that you're walking through your building you need to be aware of. The monthly checks, that's something you should know about, or you're responsible for. Or if you're the station manager, you need to make sure it gets done. Or if you're the postmaster, guess what? You're the installation head. Postal Service, every keyword says installation head. You're the station manager, you're the installation head. Everything is on your head. You didn't get that part, so I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down.
No, if the ball
All right.
goes down, he's
Again, a lot of the things that I have literally 4 3-foot bookshelves, 6 foot high, full of classes and training materials and things that I have. Warner Ladders
so
has a DVD that they used to give out. I got it at a Granger meeting one time where they had their vendors come in. So maybe you could contact your local Granger person and ask them if they can give you a copy of the Warner DVD training video stuff. It's really excellent for your employees to have or to show. They also have certificates you can give to them and all that. But the bottom line is, this stuff's free. But we all knew about it, Bob and I, Ed, because we used to go to all this stuff, and now they don't want us to go nowhere. But you're all what? Responsible for. So, I'm going to go right into, unless we got any more, I wanted to touch on the MS-47 and kind of let you guys get going, but if you had any more questions, feel free to ask them right now. Go ahead.
I come from customer service, and recently, last past winter was pretty brutal, and the NELC in our area filed a local grievance on the snowstorm that we had back on December 11th. And at the Formal A level, they brought up that the Postal Service violated OSHA regulations by not having an action plan in place for an act of God or a blizzard. And my question on that is, basically the ELM says that the only person that can that determines the level of the storm is the postmaster, which in our case, the postmaster oversees 30 different stations. So they're trying, when in the grievance procedure, the postmaster took the position that it was a snowstorm, not a blizzard, not an act of God. But the union's claiming that we have to follow OSHA regulation. They brought the regulation out stating that we have to have an action plan in place for a blizzard.
Well, a lot of that is determined on the size of your facility, and we're just going to go back to my facility. I have a big red book, and it's full of emergency action plans, shelter in place, snow, we got to have earthquake. But we had all of that in there, really. We did. Earthquake, everything. We do have it. If you're a small station, you may not have one directly, but you should have it, and it should come. Right.
Would have all of that data together.
It should be just make a folder up of your own. It's like Maine Post Office has 4 stations and branches. We wrote the book and gave it to them and just had them change their name on the header of it.
The IEP is IEMP. They said our district level person said that it's up to the postmaster to have it for the entire
shelter in
city.
place. Right.
And her the postmaster's response is that's
How big an office is this?
we're talking Minneapolis. It's
Yes, she would be wrong.
It's like 30 different.
You would be wrong. I have a binder that's 3 inches thick, and it says emergency action plans, and it's part of bag. Safety people help me with it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ed.
The only thing that the postmaster is responsible for is if they were tailor-made. They would make that particular decision. You know, a lot of times they'll call and they'll say we had 20 feet of snow. If mail is not officially curtailed, it's not considered to be the act of God.
That's for the coop.
Well, but that's in your plan. You're right. That would be, and it might just be that. That's all it says. That this XYZ is the person that makes that determination. It might be it's all in your plan.
But your opinion is that
OSHA does require an action.
Absolutely it does. PEG does too.
And we have the emergency procedures at each building, but
Right.
it doesn't have an act of God, and they're.
Well, the act of God are defined: earthquake, tornado, snowstorm, tornado, all those. There's individual ones, and you have to address them, and there is a plan to do. I didn't develop our, no, but I mean, it's act of God or whatever, but I didn't do ours. Our safety facility safety coordinator did it. So there are templates that you can get to develop a shelter in place and all the other types of things that need to be in there.
And in this particular regulation that they brought forward, one of the examples in there is OSHA says you should have an action plan for blah, 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 blizzard, blah, blah, blah. And that's what their position was, is that it was a blizzard.
Yeah, and it may just say we're going to go out because we said it was fine.
We shall deliver.
We shall deliver.
But you have
But,
to have something actually in writing.
absolutely.
A, B, C, D.
I'm telling you right, and I don't mean to push this to you, we've made red binders so that they were red, so people could see them. Every supervisor has one at the MPO. Every station manager has one. And whether it's just the Kalamazoo MPO, or Westwood Station, or Parchment Branch, we have them.
Are you talking about like it was a bad snow in Chicago, some people came to work and some didn't, like that, so we can get past?
I
I
mean,
mean,
those are,
basically, in this situation, we pulled our carriers off the street and provided them a safe environment in the building, and they're saying we should have sent them home and had procedures.
well, that's them debating their own thing. Let your labor people guide you through whatever, and if you need safety, you can. But getting back to your question, what did they show you? OSHA's regulation. And I'm going to go back to saying that whether what they're saying is the same thing I'm saying, I don't know. But you better have something like that somewhere. Not what they're saying necessarily, but you better have a book with all that
What
stuff.
about that snow day?
Yeah, that's a individual thing that operations can determine whether it's safe or not. Okay, the MS-47. That's the custodial staffing. It's also what's going to be used in an AO post office or a station or branch to determine whether you get postal employees or contract cleaners or whatever we're doing now with clerk / whatever. Nobody knows. When we sign a contract, nobody knows what it is.
Do you know anything about that? I was just asking.
No, there's nothing been ratified yet.
Because, the union's filing grievances because we haven't taken out.
And you need to send them up because absolutely, my craft director works for me. There has nothing been ratified between the two parties yet in regards to using the clerks. But when they do, they're going to be under line 3B of the maintenance budget. That I do know.
And all of those grievances need to be held in abeyance.
Right.
Because it's at headquarters.
Yeah, and then they're all just out having their field day with it. And to get them off the clock or something, you need to get with your maintenance folks to get some direction. But to go with the MS-47, you're going to, and if you're doing an EPA request, you're going to need the forms that are on the bottom of your left-hand page, the 4869 here. And I'm sorry that some of these are backwards. The 4839, which is farther back, and the 4852, which is the last one. And I'm going to go through this top sheet. If you walk through my building with this package, you will be able to go from front to back, top to bottom on the floor, and see where I walked around. Okay, that's how an MS-47 staffing package should be done. It shouldn't be over there, here, there, back there, over this way. You go around the room, you look for everything. These are considered recessed fluorescent lights, and I'm going to go over that. These could be...
You're rare, because in ours, they just basically made it fit what budget they wanted to give us.
And I'm going to get to that. Okay, let's go on the first page of the 4869, room and location. And we numbered them. There was a couple that were oddities, but generally we started with room 100 because it's on the first floor, went room 101, or whatever the building is labeled. The description here, folks, is very important, and you need to review this. You can ask your maintenance department for a copy in your building, and you need to get it. Because under the description, you better make sure that you're getting credit for a lunchroom and that they haven't put it as some active storage or something, because you get more time for a lunchroom than you would for active storage. So you need to take onus on this to make sure you're getting the right amount of staffing hours put into your budget. And don't think that there's some hokey stuff that hasn't been done with this stuff. men's locker room, a locker room gets different time, a workroom floor does, the lockbox section, the service lobby and box lobbies both get different times. There's different things that have to be done in there. So as you go across, the square footage, it would be wall-to-wall measurements in this room. That's what I put down here. I have a laser measure, I go from this wall to that wall to that wall, and I don't take out the 2 square feet for the column like our areas are now telling us to do. How dumb is that? But that is also a violation of the MS-47 staffing package requirements, even though they're trying to tell us to do it, because it's a wall-to-wall measurement, folks. Toilet fixtures. Go down to the first item, there's 9 in the women's restroom. That would include sinks and the toilets. So those are all called toilet fixtures. Both. So you get time for each one, and we're going to go across all that. Suspended in fluorescence. You get more time for these suspended lights for cleaning, so you need to make sure they didn't put, or not suspended, recessed, but they put suspended in there, because if they're suspended, they're easily accessible and you get less time for cleaning them. Incandescents and recessed. These would be considered recessed right here. You get more time, so make sure you work on your workroom floor. If they're suspended, they're suspended. If they're recessed, get time for that. Let's make sure your stuff is done. Any Venetian blinds you have, they need to be counted. Glass. Interior glass would be glass on these doors. Exterior glass would be the entrances outside. But there's 2. Right here in this lobby, the inner set's inside, the outside's outside. Because here's what you get. The perimeter glass on your building takes more time to wash. So you need to go and review all this stuff to make sure everything's been done properly. Floor care. And carrier cases. Carrier cases are each. So you got the wing, you got the main case, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. The other would be like throwback cases. They're not the shelving units you get, or file cabinets or anything else. That's on the workroom floor, already calculated in the workroom floor cleaning. So other would be like missent mail or throwback cases, things like that. Carrier cases are very specific of what they are. And let's say you've got a route, 2 wings and a main case, that's 3. You need to multiply those. They should have done it that way. Floor, resilient tile, which is vinyl, or is it carpet, or is it concrete? And sometimes you have to put in here on the side if it's wood. Yeah, ceramic, and they're in the miscellaneous here on the side if you see the keys up there. And this is one of mine that I did for my building. Then you go back farther to the 39, 4839. Just look, page back about 20 pages. Looks like this, similar to this. All that data that you put in after you do that, got 5 minutes, all that data that you put in there migrates into the into EMARS, and it comes up with this, the frequencies that you need to clean those areas. You don't have to add that, it all gets migrated in there and it prints out at the end.
Cleaner police.
Yeah, cleaner police, thanks Bob. I also included in this package, which is just a couple pages back behind this, Chapter 2, Determining Staffing Requirements. Look through that. And Chapter 4 is what you hold people accountable for, the cleaning standards, or your cleaning contractors too. Chapter 2 is determining the stuff you need. Chapter 4 is holding the people accountable to cleaning standards. When they say, I need more time for this route or that, no, these are the new systems that we went back to the old systems under the DOS arbitration. The union won in 2008 a $48 million contract or grievance settlement because somebody in the gloom of night went back and changed all these frequencies without negotiating with the unions. That was real smart. The 4839 custodial scheduling sheet, just a blank one here. I just showed you some of the forms that are in there. If you have any specific questions, it's almost easier to call me or Bob or somebody. I put some cheat sheets in here for terminologies, acronyms, the component cleaning. Right here, what you may see on the next sheet that's coming up, the 4852, what they mean. A lot of this was developed by all of us that got through the school of hard knocks going through this. We never had anybody teach us any of this stuff and do this to a class. MS-47 frequencies here. Another little cheat sheet to what you can use as a basic guide of what you should be cleaning at a minimum or what your frequencies are. This is postal Norman, Oklahoma stuff.
Frequencies are determined by the local office.
Yes.
Approved by the area office.
Well, no. Reviewed.
Excuse me, reviewed by the area office. Be advised that anything that is going to be of a max frequency will be challenged. Not that you can't substantiate it based on the actual use, but this is some of the ways that we're looking at cutting down the expenses, but don't cut it down at the expense of the health, safety, and sanitation of the office.
Now that's a nice thing to say. What really was said a year ago was the Great Lakes area mandated all maintenance managers to put all their staffing package frequencies to minimum. And that is a violation of the DOS arbitration, and if you get caught doing it, what'd you just do? Violate a contractual thing that you should have known better of, and the area's gonna throw you under the bus because they just said, we're just giving you advice.
Guidance. That's
Guidance. Chapter 2 says that frequencies, your local knowledge, the arbitrator DOS says it is the local people that determine it, and we have some maintenance managers that don't have any courage, who tried to force me, but I told them no. I also took it up as a NAPS issue because when you're getting rid of craft employees, it affects our ratio to employees, gets rid of our positions, and I went up and had a little meeting with them. Said, you know, I know, and I pulled out the arbitration, that you're ordering us to violate this by doing that. And I have plenty of witnesses. So our HR manager told our maintenance manager, our hospice, to stop it. Now they're using things like, please take a look to see what you can reduce. Code word, they're going to send it back till they pressure you into it. But let me just tell you, back on those forms, my name's in the upper right corner on them. Guess how I knew that it got changed? The union came to me with a different figure on the bottom of it. And they said, is this yours? And I go, no. Well, it's got your name on it. There's a little glitch in the EMAR system. Unless an honorable person goes in and changes their name to who did it, yours will still default in it, but they will be able to track who did it electronically, sending it in. But a year later, I didn't know who did it. They came up with 3 different versions during their investigation at the Kalamazoo PNDC. Mine, theirs, and another. Okay? The one I turned in was turned in under the DOS arbitration time frame, folks. And I stood by that. That's what got the union going. I'm going to tell you, I said this before, I said I'm not going to, defy what you're telling me, but if the union comes to me, I'm going to tell the truth, and if I have to be put on the stand and the arbitrator asks me what I know, I'm telling you what I did. Well, they just come by and interviewed us and said, who told you, when did they tell you, and how did they tell you? I said, it was my boss, my maintenance manager of operations. They told me 2 years ago and last year, during the Great Lakes Area Maintenance Managers Telecom, that I had to reduce everything to a minimum frequency, and I refused because it violated what I already was trained to do under an arbitration, and I'm not going to violate the contract. So that caused a lot of problems because they didn't need one. And they were trying to pressure me. So then I put my NAPS hat on. So now I'm the area vice president. You're ordering our people to do these things. Stop it. And they had to go another way, but they're still trying to pressure you. This particular one, we're almost done. It's just an example of chapter 4. Something that looks like this. It says washing interior glass. It tells you how many square feet, how much time, and what they're supposed to be doing. That's the standard you hold our people to or our contract cleaners to. That's in chapter 4. Chapter 2 and chapter 4 are pretty significant. And I'm going to finish up with the last page, and then I'm going to ask if you have any more questions, and then I'll let you go. And I hope you found some of this. My clerk did this, and I apologize because she converted it from double-sided to single, and it got backwards. It's the 4852. This is all of that other stuff electronically migrates into here. And if there's something that isn't on there, you can edit the right side of this and add the frequencies, And you better be able to back it up, like Bob's saying. I put snow frequencies in for my custodians being so many times a year. I better have routes that show that they're putting that amount of time, or the area's gonna come back and take it away from you the next year. Is it right? This year we had a light snow, so next year they wanna get rid of a person, then it goes heavy again and double? Okay, well, that's just the logic and idiocy that we're dealing with. But when the unions talk to you about line H and line J, or a line, well, it's H really is what they're looking for, a total amount of numbers you've used all year, work hours. Based on this, that's what they'll file on. And the next one is down here under K, that's how many people I get from my facility, 6.5. That's what this says I get. Okay. The one they produced said 4.3.
I know it did.
So, and what did that done? They would have put people out of a job. I'm talking about outright dishonesty here. I don't care what anybody says. They know what they took us to Chicago. They trained us how to do this properly during the arbitration. And then a year and a half later, they told us to disavow any of the stuff that they learned in that class and do what they tell them to do. And then guess what? Kevin completed by Kevin Traeger. Okay, I didn't complete that other one, but like I said, this is one part that has a glitch that won't, when you submit it, it doesn't change that. You have to do that manually. I wouldn't have known it. So I have my clerk who has her little spies call Merrifield up. And the people that the union interviewed that said they didn't change my staffing package, guess what Merrifield said? My boss and my peer last year went in June and were in EMARS changing that staffing package. And they said to the union that they hadn't done it. Now, I don't mean that they're lying, but they probably forgot, but they just told the union they didn't do it. But guess who they were going to throw under the bus? Me. This stuff I know back and forth, up one side, down the other, and all this other stuff, contact me. I hope you enjoyed everything. If there's surveys, please fill them out. I want you to know the passion that the area VPs and the regional vice president, Craig, all of us put together. We do want to do this, I think, on a regular basis. I think we can speak for. We're able to put more horsepower together. We're able to put a lot of money. We still can reserve some cheese for local things, too, to do some stuff. But I think the value has been unbelievable. You know how this goes. The crowd thins as time goes on. It didn't here. And I thank you all for that. Because you're in this. Thank you all.